Welcome to Storytime Digital Media. I'm your host, Megan Fox, and I'm here with Kevin Dujon, and we are talking about the updates to the Tinley Park low-income housing scandal that's going on in Tinley Park. And we have been keeping you updated to all the new things as they happen. And there is breaking news today that we are happy to share with you. So the newest, this is pretty interesting, Kevin. 7 out of 9 planning commissioners have suddenly tendered their resignations. What do you think about that?
I think that's so interesting that so many people have said that now they want to spend time with their family. They've realized, that they want to spend more time with their family, or they realize that they have health problems. So all of these 7 people have just all at the same time decided that they have an urge to spend more time with their family, and they all have health problems.
Yeah. Now, admittedly,
nothing at all. It has nothing at all to do with Buckeye or suddenly hundreds or thousands of people coming to board meetings who are angry with them. It has nothing to do with any of that.
It has nothing to do with possible investigations and indictments coming down.
No, this is what, whenever there's a politician that's in office and suddenly is under scrutiny, or, an indictment is coming. Have you noticed this in American politics? They always say, I've decided I want to spend more time with my children, with my family.
Yes, they suddenly become family people. Now, that's not to say that these people aren't lovely family people. They're they're all volunteers, and it appears that they may just not have been paying attention to what Amy Connolly was up to. Although I think in an investigation we'll find out more about it. There were only 2 people who did not resign. One of them, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't his last name Stockton? Tim?
There's one Tim Stockton, I believe.
Stockton.
And the other one is something with M's, a double M, like a Michael Mayer or Mark Mullen. And Tim Stanton. Those are the 2 that did not resign.
Tim Stanton, this is very interesting that he did not resign, because in going through the FOIA dumps, when I got the emails that I had asked for, and I still haven't gotten all of them, by the way, because, well, we'll talk about that later. But in all the emails about Buckeye that were going back and forth and zinging here and there in the village between Amy Connolly and David Petroni and village members and board members, Tim Stanton was the only planning commissioner that had a list of really good questions for her about this project, where he seemed to be saying, why is this good for the village, and what are they bringing for us, and what explain like these 6 things. And then she wrote back to him and said, oh, I'll be giving you those explanations shortly, Tim. Thank you for asking them. And then there was never any follow-up. So I'm assuming that she must have done that in person or on the phone, or maybe she just avoided him entirely. But I think it's interesting that the one person, 1 out of the 2, I don't know about the other guy, but the one guy that didn't resign is the only guy I found asking good questions about this project.
Right. There's something you said that I don't like whenever I hear people out in the suburbs say this. They say, oh, they're volunteers. They're good volunteers. You did that too. So you're a suburbanite, so you do these things that I notice that people in the city would never do. And Megan, I don't give a damn if they're volunteers. If they're doing something wrong, let the axe fall on them however it may. And it's really not true that, oh, well, they're just volunteers, they're just doing this out of the good of their own heart. No, that's not really true, because each of these people wanted to be on this planning commission for some reason, and they do get benefits out of being on that. There's the clout that comes with it, there's the prestige, there's other things that these people get being on these different commissions, in terms of connections and networking and power plays and whatnot.
That's true.
I don't know any of these people from Adam, so I couldn't tell you which ones are involved in whatever, but I just don't think it's also fair to just say, oh, well, they're volunteers. They're not the people who are baking cookies for the Cub Scouts. It's not that kind of a volunteer situation.
You have a point, and that's true. If the investigation finds out that some of them were involved in wrongdoing, then, throw the book at them. It's just that we don't have that information yet. And I also think that a lot of them have businesses that should probably be looked into to find out were those businesses given contracts with the village? Because that's normally what happens. You know, when we were investigating College of DuPage and that Carla Burkhart, that awful Carla Burkhart, with her fake company, charging $500,000 for signs that we're not sure even got made, and you know, nobody knows what these signs are for $500,000, and nobody knows this company, and it's got a different name. So this is the sorts of things that these people usually do. They get on a board somewhere, and then the companies that they own suddenly get contracts, like the pizza commissioner in Tinley Park.
He wasn't actually the pizza commissioner, but he was on.
Well, that's what we call him now.
He was on something called the Main Street Commission, and that guy owned a pizza place. So yes, he was using taxpayer money to buy pizzas from his own pizza place to then eat during the commission meetings.
So he wasn't buying the pizzas. The villagers of Tinley Park were buying the pizzas to stuff the commission's faces.
Megan, that's just what I said. You're not listening. So he was the commissioner on that Main Street Commission, and as the commissioner, he was buying pizzas, not out of his own pocket, Megan.
No.
Out of village funds, taxpayer money, and that was being used at the commission meetings.
Yes, and they were all stuffing their faces with it. And I'm sure that the taxpayers were not aware that they were buying.
I don't know. You know, this Tom Mahoney that resigned, Bob McClellan, Gina Miller, Art Pierce, Rita Walker, Jeff Vacarro, and William Reedy. I don't know if any of them have businesses. And I don't think it's fair to just assume, you know, that they're doing stuff like that pizza commissioner guy. But I also don't think it's fair to just say, oh, they're such nice volunteers. You know, so you can't take the stance on either side of that. You just have to know how strange it is that they have all decided to resign all at the same time. Why?
Okay. Can you run down the dates of when those resignations happened? And I'll put up let's see, I can share the letters with you, because this is really funny. I don't know if these are in any order.
The first one was on February 4th, and it was from Jeff Vacarro. And so Jeff Vacarro from February 4th. So he's writing to Rita Walker, who is the head of the Planning Commission, and he says, subject Plan Commission resignation. Now, February 4th is important because February 2nd is the first day that there was a village board meeting that, you know, thousands of people came to show up, be angry at the village. February 4th was another Planning Commission meeting. I don't believe that Jeff Vacarro was there. I think that Jeff Vacarro was not at the February 4th meeting that I recall. But he resigned apparently that day, and he says, Dear Chairman Walker, I would like to thank you and my fellow commissioners for the opportunity to serve on the Plan Commission the past 3 years. It has been an educational and rewarding experience that I believe has allowed me to continue helping make Tinley Park a great place to live, work, play, and raise a family. However, between work responsibilities and the needs of my family, effective February 4th, 2016, please accept my resignation from the Plan Commission. Respectfully, Jeff Vacarro. So he resigned to spend more time with his family.
Very interesting that he resigned on the 4th. Yes, because 1,000 people showed up on the 2nd, and they were headed his direction on the 4th with pitchforks and torches. And I wonder what time of day this went in. It would be interesting to know what time of day this was sent on the 4th.
Right. You know, then on February 5th, you have another one.
Another one.
That was an email, February 5th at 12:49 p.m., and that was from Tom Mahoney. He sent that to Mayor Seaman, Rita Walker. Rita Walker was the chair of the Plan Commission. He also copied Jake Vandenberg and also copied Amy Connolly. So February 5th, this is one day after the February 4th board meeting where people led into the Planning Commission. The day later, Tom Mahoney, he writes in. Do you have Tom Mahoney's?
I'm looking for it at the moment. Sorry, I do have it here somewhere, but go ahead and read, and I'll get it up here in just a minute.
So I have it. So I think I'm showing it now up on the screen.
Oh, you do? Oh, yeah. I see it. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so Tom Mahoney, he says, Dave, Amy, I apologize for missing last night's Planning Commission meeting, but I needed to be at Michigan State University in East Lansing, Michigan for my son. Please take this email as my official resignation from the Planning Commission. Since September with my son at Michigan State University and my involvement with other organizations in town, I am finding more and more conflict for time. In direct conflict with the Planning Commission dates, I often leave on Thursday to pick up my son for MSU, to bring him home for the weekend, to break up the 6-hour road trip drive. Or I leave Thursday to attend one of his MSU bowling team weekend events all over the Midwest. As you know, my wife recently resigned from the Economic Development Commission. We both are evaluating the use of our time. We both will be best served focusing our efforts to serve our community outside the village commissions. Thank you for your support, Tom Mahoney. Now this one's fun for me, Megan, because I remember being, sounds like the son is a freshman in college. I remember being a freshman in college, and I didn't want my father driving up every weekend to bring me home. I wanted to be an 18-year-old off in college. Michigan State University is a fun school. So I think it's strange that somebody would be driving up every weekend.
Well, he doesn't want to miss those bowling events, because those bowling events are something he needs to be at. Well, we keep running into this with board members who need to go see their daughter's volleyball games or now their son's bowling tournaments, and it keeps them from being at their commitments.
Yeah, and this is just an interesting thing of what I notice people out in those Chicago suburbs are like, that they just say that you have to believe this stuff. Okay, so Tom Mahoney wrote this. So there is a large part of the population that would say, well, you have to take him at his word and you have to believe this. But me, I'm saying, I remember it wasn't that long ago that I was, a freshman in college, and I find it absurd that this is his excuse. And just in the context of, okay, you just had someone else resign yesterday. Now you're having this guy resign on February 5th, and he's making excuses about having to go to bowling events. And I'm
surprised he doesn't say on there that he's going to pick up his kids' laundry. I mean, it's just such a strange random list.
Right. It's just very strange and random. Maybe it's true. I don't know. But here's the thing, Megan. Like, we're not really saying like, oh, we're here talking on the radio tonight about this guy making up a story or making up a lie. I really don't care if it's a lie. I just find it amusing that he felt the need to say that he felt the need to tell that little story. So whether it's true or not, it's just interesting. But when you keep looking at, here's another story, February 10th. So now we've already had that Jeff saying he needs to spend more time with his family. We had, that other guy, Tom, saying that, he needs to go to the bowling event, so he can't be on the commission anymore. Now on February 10th, you've got William Reedy. He wrote to Mayor Seaman saying he's resigning too. So this is the third domino to fall, third in a row. And he's saying, gentlemen, effective immediately, I am resigning my position as a volunteer member of the Tinley Park Planning Commission. I can no longer effectively serve in this capacity based on recent changes in my health. As you may know, on Friday, January 15th, I suffered a heart attack caused by blockages in 4 major arteries. The immediate problem was addressed through open heart surgery on January 18th of this year. I'm now in first stage of the rehabilitation process and will be starting phase 2 in early March, and that could continue through May. In addition, I anticipate my full recovery will cover time beyond those dates and several very necessary lifestyle changes, including reduction of stressful situations. I owe it to my family to make these changes. During this time, I will not be available to carry my share of the load during what may be some critical times in the Commission's future. I've enjoyed serving with my fellow citizen volunteers over the last 15 years, including interacting with you, Mr. Gregory Hannon, and Mr. Jacob Vandenberg as a Commission liaison trustees during those years. I may not have always agreed on policy with you and the others, but I respected your individual opinions. Likewise, I have disagreed with my fellow commissioners and professional staff over the years on particular issues. However, I have tried to keep those disagreements based on facts, not emotion. I have always believed that mutual respect for other views and opinions in life situations are necessary in all aspects of life, including business relations and the game of politics. I intend to remain an active and informed voter and encourage elected officials, volunteers, and village employees in all of their dealings with residents and each other to do what is right, not what is easy. So Megan, so this is one, he had some heart issues, and so he's citing those as his reason for leaving, and I think that's the most valid.
This is the only one. This is the only one that is valid. The rest of them are just a laundry list of excuses. Mr. Reedy, you deserve a nice long rest, because anybody who's gone through open heart surgery and recovery, that's a long road. So
the same time, the timing of this really, you do have to take into account of that. So clearly he does have a health issue, and that is legitimate, and I don't think anyone could doubt that. However, he also is citing that there's some critical times ahead in the commission's future. So there is this acknowledgement that the commission is in hot water, so he wants to get out before the stressful times come.
Well, and he's got a good reason to. Also, his doctor has told him to avoid high-stress situations, and I can't think of a higher stress situation than 1,000 angry villagers descending on your planning commission meeting, a thing that has probably never happened in the history of Tinley Park planning commissioners meetings. So,
right. So again, we had someone resign on the 4th, someone resign on the 5th, someone resign on the 10th, and now we've got on the 15th. This was Robert McClellan's resignation. So he wrote again to David Seaman on February 15th. He said, "Dear Dave, due to personal reasons, please accept this letter as notice of my resignation from the Plan Commission effective immediately. As you know, my son will soon return from another deployment just in time for the birth of their first child. So we will be doing a lot of traveling over the next year to see them. In addition, one of our other sons is serving in the Peace Corps, and we plan on seeing him soon. I want to thank you and Ed for the honor and privilege to serve this great village over the past 24 years. The village board and the village staff have been a pleasure to work with over all those years, but now it's time to give back to my family and all of their support over the many years. I know the village will be in good hands with your leadership and wish you continued success. Sincerely, Robert G. McClellan."
I only have one question. His son is serving in the Peace Corps?
Yeah, he spelled that wrong, but he seems
I've never heard of the Peace Corps.
to be not that good with computers, but I knew what he meant when he wrote that.
I did too.
He spelled it P-E-A-S-E and then C-O-R-P. Peace Corps.
Peace Corps. No, but this one is another one. It's just interesting how, suddenly, we're having a grandbaby and we're going to be traveling and I can't possibly be there anymore. It's just not in the cards for us.
Right. And so here, this is another thing I find so interesting though, between city people versus suburban people, that suburban people will be upset. I think, you can't question that he's being truthful in this. And he said that he has to do this and has to do that. And it's just really funny because in the city, we just would look at that and not believe any of that. And just, he wants off this commission, so he just made up a bunch of stuff. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but I don't really think that these are too terribly pressing issues that he has to leave a commission all of a sudden. It's strange.
All right, well, if you hear strange noises behind me, it's because the show mascot has decided it's time for his dinner, and he's back there crunching very loudly on his food. So it's not me. I'm not chewing with my mouth open. It's the dog. Just FYI. Who's the next one?
So
February 15th. So now we've had one on the...
Are you done talking about the dog? Can we go on to something else then?
Yes, I'm finished. He's chomping literally in my ear. It is distracting.
So then Art Pierce then on the 18th, his is the next one. So just a couple days after the guy resigned and said that he has a grandbaby coming and his son is in the Peace Corps. Then Art Pierce was the guy, he was the chair of that planning commission meeting. You remember, he was the one, he actually violated the Open Meetings Act a couple times, Megan, where people were talking, and they were talking to Amy Connolly, and she's a member of the Planning Commission, and Art Pierce interrupted them and told them that they're not allowed to ask Amy Connolly questions, that they couldn't direct their comments to her. And that's a violation of the Open Meetings Act, because the public body has no power to say who you can address or who you can't address. So the Attorney General is actually investigating Tinley Park over what Art Pierce did at that February 4th Planning Commission meeting. I believe probably by February 18th, the village knew they were being investigated because of the OMA violations on that day. So maybe that factored into him deciding to resign. But this is Art Pierce. He is resigning from the Planning Commission as of February 18th. He says, "Dear Mayor Seaman, I am tendering my resignation from the Plan Commission effective immediately. I want to thank you, the current trustees, and the previous board members for allowing me to serve on the Plan Commission and other various commissions over the past 34 years. There have been times as a Plan Commissioner where public hearings and or public meetings on various zoning matters have gotten loud and boisterous with passionate and sometimes fiery dialogue. It's democracy in action, citizen participation at the local level, where I always believed it mattered the most at home. I recall at one time several years ago having a lawsuit brought against the village and Plan Commissioners. It was an uneasy feeling. However, you can't let that stand in the way of the decision-making process involving the testimony and exhibits of petitioners, of citizens as either objectors or interested parties, of staff and the comments from other commissioners. Decisions must be made by applying that body of evidence against the standards of the applicable zoning ordinance. Sitting on the other side of the dais, you need to leave your emotions in check, remain impartial, put blinders on, so to speak, because people sitting in the chamber may also be friends, acquaintances, or neighbors. It has been a rewarding experience. The parameters of our judgment lie within the ordinance that created the Plan Commission and the language of the applicable zoning ordinance. I am sure that you will find any number of people who spoke at the meetings who would make good commissioners. They may be appointed and actually serve regarding the matter for which they sought to comment. I got my start in similar fashion over 34 years ago. I served as a spokesperson for the Sundale Ridge Homeowners Association regarding problems with the Sundale Ridge Pond and the creek that ran behind our homes. The matter was resolved favorably by the village board, and several months later, I received a call from then trustee Carl Vandenberg asking if I would be willing to serve on the Board of Appeals. I accepted and never looked back. Sincerely, Art Pierce.
There are a few things in this letter that just stood out to me as you were reading it. Carl Vandenberg?
Carl Vandenberg, that must be Jake Vandenberg's father.
Jacob Vandenberg's father?
Right.
Is this a family legacy being on the board?
It seems like it, doesn't it? Like the Madigans and in the State House, and Lisa Madigan and Mike Madigan, and here the Vandenbergs.
Yeah, Tinley Park has the Vandenbergs. Interesting.
Isn't that interesting? You know what else was interesting about Art Pierce's letter? I don't see him ever giving an explanation for why he's wanting to leave the commission. He just made a speech about random things.
Well, he also likes to say applicable zoning laws over and over again. That's what he likes to say.
Now, Art Pierce, for people who don't know, Art Pierce actually handles the FOIA requests for the village. So
I hope he's resigning from that too, because he's terrible at it.
He is terrible at FOIA production. He really is.
Terrible. He's absolutely terrible at it. He has not given me half of the stuff that I've asked for. He gives me the wrong things and says that I didn't ask for when I can clearly show him the email that says, yes, I did ask for it this way. It's absolutely mind-numbing. And I can't figure out if he's doing it on purpose or if he's really just that incompetent.
Yeah. So maybe he's resigning from a lot of things. He should be.
Well, after 34 years, it's time to step down because 34 years is too long to be in any government aspect at all. Okay, I'm sorry, but 34 years, you are not supposed to be serving in government for 34 years. It's supposed to be service, that you do for 6 years or 4 or 6 years. You don't do it for 34 years. It's just, there's something wrong with that to me. That's like Robert Byrd, or who was in the Senate for however many years he was there. It seemed like 70.
Right. It's Robert Byrd was a Democrat senator that seemed like he was there forever. So here we have on February 19th, Rita Walker now. So Megan, she's caught the bug, the resignation bug, that has been racing through all of these people's offices. On February 19th, she decided she's had enough, and she's the Plan Commission chair. She says, I am hereby resigning from the Plan Commission effective immediately. As you are aware, I have been contemplating this for over the past 6 months due to personal family matters, and also that I felt it was time for me to move on. 6 months? Doesn't that sound about the time that this Buckeye stuff was really starting? Yeah. Isn't that interesting? So I think maybe this woman may have had an inkling something was coming if she really was saying she wanted off this in the past 6 months. It is unfortunate that many of my other serving commissioners have felt the need to pursue the same action at this time. Okay, so she knows, because she's always been copied on all of these resignations, she knows that, what, 5 other people have already resigned ahead of her? But
she's determined not to be the last one out the door.
Right. She's just saying it's unfortunate that so many others have felt the need to pursue the same action.
But I'm doing it too.
But it will open the door for many new faces. Yeah, don't let the door hit you on the way out. I have been involved with the Plan Commission in many capacities over a long time span and have the utmost respect for those I have served under and those I have served with. Chairmen, commissioners, village board members, and administration. I have tried to spend my time learning the village codes, oh really, and applying those codes to our review process. I have seen our town double in size and double again, continuing to grow through good times and not so good times. I have sat through many meetings with issues that brought on heated public debate and differing opinions amongst the commissioners. Our commissioners always have had respect for one another in spite of those differences, and for those that appeared before us as well. We have welcomed public debate as part of the process. Many of the village volunteers were discovered by their appearance at a meeting to question or comment. It has been the backbone of our community for the last 40+ years. Thanks to all on the village board who have guided and advised me over the years, it is time to pass the baton to those who will mold Tinley Park for the future. Respectfully, Rita Walker.
I have to say, and this letter and also Art Pierce's letter, I see a common theme here. And that is, oh, well, you don't like what we're doing? So we're just going to quit with the mess we've made and let you clean it up. So you all clean it. You come and clean it up because, you know, there's lots of you out there who I'm sure would be great on this commission, is what they're saying. Basically saying, okay, you people complaining, you get up here and do this. We've left a big fat mess, and now you come clean it up.
Oh, no, this is an interesting take on it. I wouldn't have had that take. So what you're saying is they're all just kind of like, okay, well, you know, the public's all mad. So if you're all mad, we're just going to leave, and then you could just take over. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, Art Pierce's letter pretty much said that. He said it in a nice way, but he basically said, oh, there's lots of people that came to speak who would be wonderful on this commission. So basically what he's saying is, so let them do it. But what's unfortunate about that is they just screwed up royally, and they put the town in a really bad spot. And now they're all bailing, jumping ship, and just saying, oh, oops, well, we made a big mess. You'll clean it up.
Here was one I skipped over. This was from Gina Miller. And she said on February 16th, she said, good afternoon, Mayor Seaman. Due to personal reasons, I am regretfully submitting my resignation as a planning commissioner. Although my time has been short, I met some wonderful people who really care about Tinley Park. I have nothing but the best aspirations for Tinley Park going forward. Thank you for considering me. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm sorry it did not work out for the best. Take care. Gina Miller. This one I thought was funny because Mayor Seaman seems to know her, and I think that Gina was someone that Mayor Seaman wanted to be on the commission, because then he says to her, Gina, I am disappointed. Is the decision final? I find the current situation regrettable, but this too shall pass. Absolutely, positively, Dave. And she writes him back, Dave, I wish this could have turned out differently. I have thought this over, and this is not only affecting me, but my family, and that is not fair to them. I feel it is best I stick with my decision at this time. Again, thank you for the opportunity, and I wish you and everyone the best. Gina Miller.
Yeah, she's jumping ship. I don't know how long she's been there, but obviously it hasn't been very long. And she sees the writing on the wall, which is there's a big fat mess to clean up, and I don't want any part of it.
But again, do you see this thing? It's fascinating to me as a student of politics. All they have to do is just invoke the word family, and they seem like that no one is allowed to question them on that or anything. Like it seems to be that there's a social pressure if someone says, I'm resigning because it's affecting my family, or I'm resigning to spend more time with my family. And then everyone is just told basically social pressure wise, okay, don't question any further. That seems to just be something people say when they don't want to explain further. It's my opinion. Yeah.
I don't think anybody really buys it when, who was the senator in, I think it was the senator in Illinois or one of the congressmen in Illinois who got into a sex scandal. I mean, one of them, mean, there's been so many. But the very first thing he did was say he was Oh, I know. It was the guy that got caught with the child porn. It was bad. Oh, what was his name? It was an Illinois guy. Anyway, the first thing he did was he resigned, and he didn't resign because he got caught with this stuff on his computer. He said he was resigning to spend more time with his family. No one believed that. No one.
Just like, remember that Mark Sanford, that terrible governor, I think he was governor of South Carolina, and he got caught with the mistress down in Brazil. And remember there was a time when he was missing in the woods for like a day, but he was really in Brazil, some craziness. But he said that too. He said, oh, I'm resigning to spend time with my family. They all say that. They all say that. This one was funny too. This is an email from Laura Godet. She's the clerk at Village Hall. She wrote to Mayor Seaman and she said, there was a letter of resignation from William Reedy, Plan Commission, on my desk yesterday afternoon. It is addressed to you, and I have no idea who put it on my desk. I left it for you on your desk. Clerk Rhea, Amy Connolly, and Rita Walker were CC'd.
So that guy was so eager to get out of there that he put it on the wrong desk.
Right. That man just ran in the building, threw that paper on somebody's desk, and then ran out the
first desk you saw. And he booked it out of the building.
Right.
Oh, man.
I thought that was funny.
It's really funny. Yeah.
I've been waiting for these for a while. You know, I had FOIA'd the village for this resignation stuff because we had heard a rumor that a lot of them were going to be resigning. And the village of Tinley Park does this thing that I have noticed all public bodies do if they have Kleinthorpe Jenkins as their attorneys, but they delay production of documents. They always wait till the last day that a document is due, and then they tell you, oh, we need an extension.
We need an extension, yeah.
And then when the extension comes due, either they black everything out, or they don't give you stuff, or they elect
half of what you asked for.
Right. So finally, today is when I got these letter of resignations, and I was really surprised because I didn't think I'd find this many. I had heard that some people had resigned, but I thought some meant 2 or 3. I didn't think it meant 7.
7 of the 9 commissioners, and amazingly. You know, what they did to me with the FOIA production was I actually asked for all the letters or email communications that were sent to the village or to the mayor or anybody else at the village complaining about the Buckeye project. I got back nothing, 0. They said no documents exist. Now, we know that this is not true because some of the people on the Citizens of Tinley Park Facebook page have actually published the letters they sent to the mayor and the mayor's responses, which were very embarrassing for the mayor because he was him being very short-tempered and nasty to people. Well, I was trying to get all of the letters, and I didn't get any of them. They actually just said, they don't exist. So, and you remember this guy, this is the mayor, and I have something interesting to tell you about Mayor Seaman today, because he did something that was actually good today, unlike being in Florida sunning his buns when the village was burning. I think you all remember this Rolling Stone cover of the mayor when he was in Florida.
But this is him today, so he's better dressed for the weather today.
He showed up at the picket line, and it was really great because, okay, this is a guy who really started this out as the wrong way. He had responded to people in nasty emails, nasty letters saying, oh, you're much smarter than me. You must be smarter than me, like getting all offended. He yelled at people at the first meeting, you know, and he got caught by WGN doing that. So this is not a guy who has always looked great during this. But today, he really did something that is going to go a long way for how people view him, I think, in Tinley Park. He showed up on the picket line. He brought coffee and donuts for everybody out there, and he walked around and talked to people for a good hour. And I have reports from people who were there that said that he was basically saying that he was on their side, that he believed that this wasn't the right thing for Tinley Park, and that he was trying to give them some ideas about what they can do. Of course, this is also a man who's seen the writing on the wall, and it's political suicide for him to come out in favor of Buckeye. And so I think it's interesting that we've seen the mayor start out looking like a fool and being very brittle, and then turning it around and doing this public relations move today, which was really quite effective, I think.
Well,
And
I tell you,
people are still really mad at him. It's not that people are still mad at him. It's just that, Kevin, compare this to the protest that we launched outside the Orland Park Public Library. What happened to us that day?
well, in general, I think it's really interesting to compare the elected officials in Orland Park versus the elected officials in Tinley Park. And I think that the Tinley Park people are smarter, savvy, political wise. So this mayor, I think he realized that he looked really stupid in that WGN spot, how they used the part of him yelling during the board meeting. He looked really bad. But yeah. I'm going to tell you, this guy has really good political instincts, though, to come and try to make amends today and bring people donuts and coffee. And he brought more than just what is in that little bag. You said that he brought actually enough for everyone.
Yeah, what's in that bag was, I was told that was the creamers and the sugars and the stuff for the coffee, but he brought carafes of like the boxes of coffee, and he brought donuts for everybody.
And so this is different than in like Orland Park. They would just entrench themselves and just keep hating the public and not ever make a move like this.
When we protested outside the library, they called the police.
Right, and so
they arrested.
They would try to silence First Amendment rights any way they can. Here in Tinley Park, he's putting on a different face, and he is not doing the same games that Orland Park did. And that's very interesting to me, because both Tinley Park and Orland Park are both represented by that terrible law firm Kleinthorpe Jenkins. This mayor, as foolish as he is sometimes, he seems to be smart enough to realize that he has to do damage control. So that's interesting.
Well, and it's something that I have noticed with the Tinley Park board members and the mayor and the leadership, is that they do genuinely seem, well, besides Brady and Grady, they generally seem to care about the people in the village and want to talk to them and want to have a dialogue with them. And this mayor is proving that to be true. He went out there and he spoke to people for a very long time today. And I think it was a really good move. I really think it was a good move. This is not a guy who's digging in his heels and deciding to fight. He seems to be, trying to really have a dialogue with people and hear where they're coming from. That is so different than what we've seen in Orland Park, where they just dig in their heels and refuse to speak, refuse to talk, refuse to work it out, refuse to even have a conversation. I've been really impressed with the Tinley Park management, just with their willingness to have a conversation.
Oh, me too. Me too. And, they actually are getting reported on by Illinois Leaks, the Edgar County Watchdogs. They had an article up today called 7 Tinley Park Planning Commission Members Suddenly Resign. And they thought it was very newsworthy. And, the Edgar County Watchdogs, they're famous in our state for looking at all these corrupt government boards all around. And even they have said that this is so unusual to have this many commission members resign. One resigned on the 4th, one resigned on the 5th, one resigned on the 10th, one resigned on the 15th, then there was one on the 16th, then the 18th, and finally Rita Walker was the last one on the 19th. So she ended up being the last one out the door. This is unusual, Megan.
Yeah, it is. And also the mayor, I hope he's listening, because I also heard that a couple of members from COTP have put in their request that they're interested in being on the Planning Commission, and they've heard nothing from the mayor. So I think it's, if he is looking to replace the planning commissioners, which he should be, I think he doesn't need to look any further than the members of the Citizens of Tinley Park page, because there are 4,300 people there. And several of them have already submitted their resumes and said they were interested. And I think that it would be silly to not take them seriously.
Exactly. So that's an interesting question about this planning commission. So there are 9 members of the commission, and they can't do anything unless they have a quorum. So they couldn't vote on anything. And so there's only 2 people on there now. And so there's 7 people that just resigned. I know that a quorum of 7 people, isn't it 5? And a majority of a quorum would be 3. So I don't know how many quorum would be for a board that has 9 members on it. But the interesting
Certainly
question,
too.
I'm trying to look it up as I speak. I haven't found a good answer to it. But the interesting question is, there are many members down, at this point now. 2 definitely wouldn't allow them to have a quorum. I think they would need more than 5 because the 7-member board needs 5. I know that. So they're in an interesting situation where they won't be able to vote on anything Buckeye-wise.
That's right. So it's not looking good for them to break ground in the 40 days they say they want to break ground. That's not happening with no planning commissioners.
And the question I have is, is the planning commission allowed to say no to Buckeye?
Well, they are, but then Buckeye will sue, because Buckeye will say, we are in precise compliance, and so you have no good reason to say no, and because they illegally changed the zoning laws to make them in compliance, and I would fight that. But I do think that Buckeye will sue.
Here's the thing, suburban people are very afraid of lawsuits. I've noticed that. So, I see people very afraid of Buckeye suing. I just don't see how Buckeye manages to have a very good time having a lawsuit in this regard, because during discovery, I think a lot of interesting things are going to come up that'll make Buckeye look horrible. These emails that went forth between Buckeye and Amy Connolly that I've seen so far look horrendous, where it's very clear, they're telling Amy, we're going to fill out these documents for you, then you just sign it. All this kind of stuff that looks like it's very unclean hands, and it's very shady how this was done. So I don't think that people should be too afraid of Buckeye filing a lawsuit.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And even if they do, I think the people of Tinley Park have decided that it's worth it to them. I don't think they are going to be scared of a lawsuit, and I don't think they should be. I think you fight it, and even if there is a judgment of some kind, you pay it and you get rid of them. But I don't think that that's going to happen. I actually think that that's not going to happen. I think that what's going to be found out is that zoning law was changed without the proper hearings, and that they should never have gotten that HUD approval in the first place. And so I don't see it going any other way. And they can sue if they want to, because anybody can sue for anything, but I don't see them coming out victorious. Now, the village is going to have to put out the money to defend themselves, and I think the people should consider a lawsuit of their own against Buckeye.
And the village should countersue Buckeye.
Yeah.
If Buckeye wants to sue the village, then the village, I'm sure you have to find better lawyers than Clanthorpe Jenkins. Let's think about that.
That's a must.
So that's just a given. You have to get rid of them.
That's a given.
But you have to get competent, good attorneys and then countersue Buckeye for something. And, if Buckeye wants to sue the village, well, then let Buckeye, if they are sowing the wind, let them reap the whirlwind on that. But I just guarantee you, if we've been able to uncover, just using FOIA, these emails that look so horrible between that David Petroni and there's another guy named Zach Crafton and that Amy Connolly, the 3 of them were emailing like best buddies, trying to push this around the zoning laws. In discovery and interrogatories and document production for a lawsuit, can you imagine all the stuff that will come out?
Oh, there's more coming. And there's more that I haven't even received yet, because Art Pierce is holding it back from me and not giving me what I asked for when I asked for it. And so now I've had to go on another digging expedition. And of course, they've given me another extension of 5 days, like they do every time they want to hide stuff. But I know for a fact there are more emails coming out between Amy Connolly and David Petroni that are going to make your head spin. It's only a matter of time. They can't hold on to them forever, and I'm going to get them. So I think I have 4 more days on that one. So we'll see, probably by the end of next week.
And as I said, it's just staggering to think that, okay, so Buckeye went around all these zoning things, and there were improper things that the mayor has already stated. It's very clear that things at minimum were improper in terms of this happening. I just don't understand how Buckeye would even be able, with a straight face, be able to say, oh, well, you have to let us build what we want, because if not, we'll sue you. You know, like on the Citizens of Tinley Park page today, they have up an email from David Petroni to Amy Connolly. This is from June 23rd, 2015. And it's talking, it says, this is David Petroni talking to Amy. Amy, let's go with the plan, legacy, and wrap your info around the form. Hopefully we get credit for your work with the legacy plan. Make sense? Regards, David Petroni. You know, so this guy, you know, who is from Buckeye, he really seems to be talking to Amy Connolly like she's an employee of his, not of the village.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, it's very disturbing. I mean, I think everybody's in agreement that those emails they're damning. And
And he says, and this other guy, this Zach guy, he says to Amy, I'm going to try to get this up on the screen here too so everybody can see it. But this Zach Crofton guy from Buckeye, he's talking to Amy in this other email, and he's telling her that he's going to fill out these forms for her.
mm-hmm.
And so that's the one that everyone's really upset about is, you know, why are you filling out forms for her? That's not her job to just be getting someone else to fill out forms for her. And it's inappropriate for you, if this is a project that you want. Here it is. It says, thank you for your help. Blah, blah, blah. Sorry about the confusion. I filled out the form for you. We would just need your signature on the second tab if you're comfortable doing so. Scanned is fine. I went ahead and listed the 2011 Legacy Code and mentioned that it supplements the 2009 Legacy Plan. This way the plan falls within 5-year range, and hopefully we will view it as an update to the 2009 plan. Please do not hesitate to contact me if you have any questions. Best, Zach. So you see what he's doing there? This Zach guy and this David Petroni guy, they're giving Amy ideas on how to slip this around the code.
Right.
None of this, to me, seems to be above board, because if it was above board, then what is the need for them having to be creative with how things would fall within a 5-year plan? And I'm filling this out. It just needs your signature if you're comfortable doing so.
And then in another email, she goes on to say, I'm not sure I should be signing this. I don't have the authority to sign this. And then David Petroni asked, well, is there any way around this? And suddenly they come up with a plan to talk to the attorney, the KTJ attorney, and the KTJ attorney comes up with a way around it. Oh, yes, Amy can sign it, but she has to put a little codicil under her name that says, I'm signing this, but I have no authority to sign it, or some nonsense like that. And then sends it off to the HUD office. Now, if anybody knows anything about the HUD office or any other office in Illinois run by the government, are people, Kevin, really looking at the fine print?
Oh, no. You know, they'll just look at the signature and say, okay, it was signed.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Put it through, rubber stamp, put it through.
And no one will look at any kind of explanation that she wasn't allowed to sign that. They'll just say, oh, it had a signature.
Yeah, right.
And that's what they do. They'll just say, okay, well, we need to make sure it has a signature. Here it has a signature.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless of if that woman was allowed to sign it or not, they'll say, well, that's not our fault because we just checked to see that the signature was there, and it was. And it's just on her or on somebody else who's her boss, you know, to get her in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, that Tinley Park Junction, they had an article about everything going on too. We know the junction doesn't really dig deep, and they never want to make a public body look bad. But I think even the media that tries to carry water for the village still makes the village look really bad. Because, you know, they have a quote here from this Mike Panito, the board member. I have concerns about a process and a system that allowed a project of this size to get to where it is without me knowing about it, without some of my trustees knowing about it.
Yeah, it doesn't look good for them, and really that is the problem. Now, okay, this is another thing I wanted to talk about tonight. The citizens of Tinley Park have created a web page, and it is citizensoftinleypark.com, I think. I'm going to go check that to make sure. But there's a blog post up there today that is really fantastic. It's got the video from the Oak Lawn Village board members talking about Tinley Park, and it's fascinating because in this video clip, the village manager is asked a question by one of the trustees, and he says, "Is what is happening in Tinley Park, can that happen to us here? Would we ever be in a situation where we did not hear about a building project that was this big in our village?" And their building manager basically puts Tinley Park to shame and says, "No, that would never happen here because it would never even," and then he admits, Buckeye came to us in the fall of 2015 and it never got past the discussion stage. And the reason it never got past the discussion stage is because we informed them we do market-based housing here. If the market demands it, we build it. And if the market doesn't demand it, we don't build it. So have a nice day, sir. And they told Buckeye to take a hike. So
you're talking about, it's this article by Ken Shaw called A Tale of Two Villages.
Yes.
And so that's an article written on the website on citizensoftinleypark.com. So this is dated February 26th, and it's this comparison of Tinley Park versus Oak Lawn.
Mm-hmm. And it's wonderful. The video is great, and you guys should go and watch it. You can find it at citizensoftinleypark.com. It's on the blog tab. It's right at the top. There's like 6 things to choose from: home, and then blog, and then reserve. And if you click on blog, you can find new articles. Now, this website has been made to be an information site for the citizens of Tinley Park to come without a lot of the commentary. There's no commentary here except for from leaders of the movement, and they're putting up information and meeting times and facts about the reserve, events that are coming up. This is where you can go to find your t-shirts and your sweatshirts for the upcoming St. Patty's Day parade that they're going to be marching in. So it's a beautiful website. Ben DeNoyers made this website, and he's one of the founders of the Citizens of Tinley Park. And it's a really cool website. So if you guys have not seen it yet, make sure you get there. And that's citizensoftinleypark.com. And you're going to find all the updated information there. The Facebook page is great for discussion, but this is going to be the place that you need to go to find what is happening up to the minute and all the detail. And definitely read that Tale of Two Villages, because that is really something to watch how another village who has the right idea takes care of a situation like this before it gets in, even before it gets to the Planning Commission. And in Oak Lawn's case, even after it got to the Planning Commission, if it did, the Planning Commission would then have to send their recommendation to the board for a vote, which is the way it should be, instead of the way it is in Tinley Park, where the board has given up their ability to vote on these things for reasons I can't even imagine, unless it's because they want to blame somebody else and say, "Oh, we didn't do it." So, definitely check out citizensoftinleypark.com.
Now, before we go, on March 1st, there's going to be another village meeting, and they're actually having it at the convention center. So that is scheduled for 8 o'clock at the convention center. So they're finally addressing the issue of there has not been space for enough people who wanted to come to the board meeting. So this board meeting coming up on March 1st, that will be at the convention center. And then on March 6th is the St. Patrick's Day parade, right, Megan?
That's correct. The St. Patrick's Day parade is every year. It's a really fun parade. And I know the citizens of Tinley Park will be marching in that parade. And there is an event that you can buy tickets to afterwards for, I think it's $40 for a family ticket and $20 for a single. And it's going to have music and dancing and all sorts of fun stuff and a cash bar. And yeah, the parade is always, I think it's their first event where the citizens of Tinley Park are all going to be together and just kind of having a celebration of, getting all these people together and the community support. They've rallied. They've done so much so quickly as far as getting the word out to all of Tinley Park through the flyers, through the signs, through the pickets. These people have been out picketing every Saturday and Sunday since this started. And, it's wonderful. It's really great to see a community really stand up and say, no, we're not having this.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's fantastic to see this. It's totally night and day difference from places like Orland Park where they just let the corrupt government do whatever it wants. This is really great to finally see people in Illinois standing up to corrupt government. It's a pretty amazing thing to see this.
It is, and we have 2 minutes left in this hour, and so I would just encourage you to check out that website and make sure that you know what's going on in Tinley Park. I know that you're following this very closely the way we are, and we will be here on this story as it develops until the very end and bringing you the latest that we know. And we're happy to have you, if you want to write us and give us your thoughts or, chat with us when we're doing these programs, we're happy to hear from you. And we would love to answer your questions or anything else that we can do. Kevin, do you have anything to add?
It sounds like the big thing is still as of this date, almost a month into this now, we still do not have all 2,500 of those emails that Jake Vandenberg said that he looked through and it turned his stomach.
Not even close. Not even close. I have about 100. Yeah,
not even close. And I've only gotten a few hundred pages of documents out of the village myself. And I finally got those letters of resignation today. So there's still lots of stuff that we're looking for. We're still looking for all the emails between that Zach Crofton and Amy Connolly, between Amy Connolly and David Petroni, and looking to see who on that planning commission had knowledge of this stuff too, because I find it remarkable that 7 of them decided to jump ship and go, racing for the woods under their different excuses all at the same time. That seems strange to me. And the 2 that have stayed, one of them, it sounds like, is a good guy that was asking questions. And the other one we don't know anything really about either way, but it's just really weird to me that 7 of them would just resign quickly. So I'm wondering if there's going to be things that are linked to any of them. We don't know. And the longer that Tinley Park takes in producing documents and showing the public things, the more people are going to have questions like this. So it does not
going to increase the broken trust. And also the longer it takes for them to get an investigation started, the more trust will be broken. Mayor Cena made a big gesture today by going out to the picket line and, crossing over and bringing donuts and coffee. But he's going to have to make a much bigger gesture and get that investigation rolling immediately in order to gain back trust. I know the people on the picket line appreciated the coffee and they really like donuts, but they really don't like Mayor Seaman right now. Regardless of the coffee and the donuts, they thought it was nice of him, but they really don't trust him right now. And if he wants to be trustworthy, then that investigation needs to start tomorrow. No more waiting around, no more looking into who are we gonna hire. Just get somebody immediately and get it started. So right. That's all we have time for today. Thanks for listening. And you've been listening to Kevin Dujon, and I'm Megan Fox on Storytime Digital Media. Have a blessed day.